So today we need to talk about your resistance, because I know for so many of you who are manifesting, a lot of you feel like your resistance is the major thing that's blocking you from getting your manifestation. You're asking questions like, how do I release my resistance? How do I let go? How do I stop being bothered by the old story? How do I heal my blockages? How do I let go of my blocks? Like all of those kinds of questions. And today I'm going to give you some answers on resistance that you have probably never heard before, so that you can think of all of this in a totally different way. Stop asking those questions that I just said. Stop relating to resistance like it's something you have to find a way to let go of and find a way to solve your resistance. We're going to stop relating to it like that. I'm going to give you a totally different way to think about resistance, and obviously give you some tools to deal with resistance when it comes up. Tools that will actually help you, tools that are extremely simple, and really get you focused on what you're doing as a manifester, how easy and simple it really is, so that you don't get distracted in all of the resistance noise. So I'm really excited to get into this particular video with you guys today, and I'm also going to share with you my own example. I mean, technically it's a success story from my own life that really exemplifies exactly the principle that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So I'll be telling you the story of that success story that will really drive home exactly what I'm talking about here today. And you're really gonna think of your resistance so much differently after this video. So here we go. First and foremost, I want to introduce myself to any of you who maybe do not know me yet. This is the first video of mine that you are clicking on and seeing. My name is Genevieve. I'm a manifestation coach, and I'm here to help you manifest. I mean, to keep it simple, that's what I'm here to do. I want to explain things to you in a different way, in a healthy way, in nuanced ways, but also simple ways. So in each of my videos, I try to go deep into a topic. If you are interested in working with me, I have lots of courses available. You can book a one-on-one coaching call with me if you want some personal guidance through your very specific circumstances. Maybe you need help seeing some blind spots in yourself that you're just not seeing. You can book a call with me. I also do group coaching once a month, and you can do that through joining the platinum tier of the membership program. So all the links for all that is down below. So check all of that out. And I do ask that if you do get value out of this video, if you are enjoying all the free content that I give you here, please subscribe and of course like this video. Okay, let's get into resistance. This is going to be such a juicy discussion today. And first, it obviously feels appropriate that I should define for you, so what is resistance? Resistance is this buzzword in law of assumption and manifestation world. Everyone's talking about resistance. You're not getting your manifestation because you're resistant to it. You're resistant to living in the end, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. It's a buzzword in the manifestation community, but what does it really mean? What really is resistance? Well, resistance is just focused energy. Just like your manifestation and being in the wish fulfilled is also focused energy, resistance is only called resistance because it's a focused energy that contradicts your wish fulfilled. It seems to contradict your manifestation. But both your manifestation and resistance are just focused energies. Again, resistance is only different from manifestation because resistance is the focused energy that you don't want. This is not the wish fulfilled. This is the opposite of what you want. This is, I'm not loved, I'm not wanted, I don't get what I want. Resistance energy, it feels like those kinds of stories, it feels like those kinds of thoughts, it feels like this isn't going to happen, it feels like this is improbable, this feels like, oh, the opposite of my manifestation is going to happen. It's all that focused energy that, again, doesn't support the wish-fulfilled focused energy that says, I am loved, everything is working out for me, everything comes to me easily. So resistance is just focused energy that doesn't support the wish fulfilled. But your resistance is not more powerful than the wish fulfilled. It is not, and this might surprise you to hear, but it is not even trying to contradict the wish fulfilled. In fact, and I will exemplify this in the success story I'm going to tell you, you can have resistant energy present and the wish fulfilled, your manifestation, can still absolutely 100% come through, even though the other focused energy of resistance, the opposite, is maybe still totally alive inside of you. So yes, you heard that right. A lot of you have come to believe that, oh, I can't have resistance at the same time as the wish fulfilled, because resistance, it's going to cancel out the wish fulfilled, it's going to contradict it, and therefore I can't have the thing I want. The more I manifest and the more I coach people on manifesting and see success examples again and again and again, I have found that to be not true. You can have resistance alive inside of you and still get what you want. This is why we need to stop asking those questions of, well, how do I let go of my resistance? How do I release resistance? How do I, heal myself? How do I heal the wounds and the blockages? How do I let go of all that? We have to stop asking those questions because actually they're not relevant. And if I need to give a quick answer to those questions, you're not gonna release your resistance, at least not in the way you think. So first and foremost, let's just take a moment to feel the relief of that. Like, doesn't it feel like a big relief to be like, oh, I don't have to release my resistance. I don't have to put so much focus on my resistance. Like, oh my God, how do I release this? Oh my God, my resistance is still here. Oh my God, my old story is still here. Isn't it such a relief to be like, oh, I don't even have to release it? I can actually just leave it alone and like everything's gonna work out for me anyway. I don't have to keep healing. I don't have to keep releasing. I don't have to keep letting go. Like, oh my God, that feels like such a big relief to just like know that I don't have to focus on that. So first and foremost, allow yourself to enjoy that relief that we no longer have to care about our resistance. We don't need to be caring about it. We don't need to be worried about it. We don't need to be asking questions about it. We can just, okay, the resistance is there. It's not gonna be released. It's not gonna go away. I'm not gonna make it go away. And that's okay. Not only okay, but maybe it's actually good. Okay, Genevieve, tell me more. So now I wanna tell you my little success story because I know that just in the telling of the story, you will get the steps that you need to do by hearing what I did here. So first of all, I am low-key a Disney adult, not a cringy Disney adult. I just really love going to Disney. I just love Disney. It's just, I do. I'm not super public on this channel about my personal interests and my personal relationships because the internet is sketchy. And yes, I know that was a really big assumption I just said, but it's still working for me, so I don't really care. So anyway, I tend to be a little more private about like my personal life and my personal interests. But for the sake of this story, you have to know the context that I love going to Disney. So one time I was at Disney World and I wanted to go on this particular roller coaster, and I happened to be doing it alone this time because no one would do it with me. Again, important to know just for context. So I'm in the line for the roller coaster and I decided to affirm over and over again that I was gonna sit in the back of the roller coaster because, as you know, other roller coaster fans will know, the back is where it's at. It's the best part of the roller coaster to be at the back. So I'm in line, just kind of, in my own head, enjoying myself, and I'm just affirming, I'm gonna be seated in the back. I'm gonna be seated in the back. I'm gonna be seated in the back. But as I'm affirming, I had this like niggling intuition. And this is also, I just want to say in this video, I am going to get into what intuition is. I know you weren't expecting that in this video, but for the sake of this video, understanding intuition and resistance, because the two can feel very similar. I know when I first got into law of assumption myself, I have always been an intuitive person. Like, I actually give people psychic readings, or I should say I did. I don't anymore because I actually don't feel like people should be getting psychic readings if they're doing law of assumption, because it can kind of mess them up a little bit and enable them to still be attached to kind of external validation and external, like, oh, somebody else is going to tell me what's happening. But when I first got into law of assumption work myself, I remember being really confused about my own intuition, because before law of assumption, whenever I would feel like this intuitive like niggling within me that would tell me like, oh, I think this is going to happen. Before law of assumption, I would just go with it. And of course, my intuition was always right, because again, I would feel that little thing that said, oh, this is going to happen. And whether it was positive or negative, I would just trust my intuition and believe it, and therefore that thing would happen. So back to me being in line for the roller coaster, I'm affirming, I'm gonna be seated at the back, I'm gonna be seated at the back. And then all of a sudden I got that niggling intuition in my body that said, no, I don't think so. For some reason, Genevieve, I just have this niggling feeling that I'm going to be seated at the front. And when I first got into law of assumption and that would happen to me, I would instantly not know how to hold my affirmation or whatever my chosen preference that I was manifesting. I wouldn't really know how to stay focused on that. I would feel, again, the niggling intuition, that part of my body that was saying, nope, Genevieve, you're wrong. That thing you're affirming about, you're wrong about it. That's not what's happening. I would feel that and I would just sort of defer to it. So, but obviously now I'm a much better manifester. So I feel the niggling thing within me that says, no, Genevieve, it feels like, intuitively, it feels like for some reason you're going to be placed at the front of this roller coaster. I don't know why, but intuition just seems to know that you're not going to be at the back. In the past, I would get so annoyed with whatever niggling intuitive thing. And sometimes it's not really your intuition. This is what I'll also say. Sometimes that no, your body is trying to tell you as you're affirming for something, it's not even intuition. It's just resistance. It's just the part of you that, again, that focused energy that just deeply doesn't believe in your manifestation. But whether it's truly intuition or just resistant old story stuff, when that would happen to me in the past, when I was first learning to do this, I would fight that intuitive niggling or that resistant niggling. I would fight it. I would get so annoyed. I would be like, no, body, I am affirming for this. And I am claiming, this is my reality. This thing I'm affirming, this is my reality. And I would almost get like mad at the resistance, at the intuitive niggling, whatever it was. And of course, that always backfired. And even though I would like try to tell that resistance or tell that intuition that no, that's not what's happening, it would still happen. And I for a period of time, I was very confused about how law of assumption and intuition, like how they fit together, because it felt like every time an intuitive hit would come, the intuitive hit was right, not this, not my affirmation, not my manifestation. But here is the difference of what I did when I was in line for the roller coaster. First and foremost, when that niggling intuition or resistance comes up, you do not fight it. So that's obviously when I felt that come up, I instantly was not afraid of it. Do not be afraid of your resistance. Do not feel it come up and, it tells you, no, that's not what's happening. You can't have that. Do not react to it because resistance feeds off of more resistance. So when you try to fight it and you go, no, 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 you are actually giving it more focus. Remember how resistance is just focused energy? When you fight it, when you try to say no, you are giving it more power. You're giving it more of your focus and you're therefore feeding it. So that's why, like I was saying before, how my intuition was always right. It's because even when I tried to fight it, I was still giving it a lot of my focus. I was giving it even more power. So obviously, again, in my roller coaster example, it came up, I was not threatened by it. And I fully saw it for what it was. And to me, I could tell, because now I've gotten to the point that I can actually tell the difference between a genuine intuitive hit within me versus a resistant old story. Like those two things within my body now feel different, and I've gotten masterful enough to know the difference. And I could tell that in this example, it was true that this was an intuitive hit I was having. It was an intuitive hit I was having that I was going to be placed towards the front. So it came up. I wasn't threatened by it. I looked at it. I saw, okay, yeah, this is a real intuitive hit. And then what did I do? I said, okay, well, that's cool. Obviously, that's an option here. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for giving me that information. But I'm going to continue to affirm that I'm at the back. Do you see how simple that is? Your old story comes up. You don't do anything except acknowledge it. You maybe take a moment and examine it, because I get that in this example I'm giving you, this might seem like a very superficial example, me on the roller coaster. So I get that sometimes when your resistance comes up, it's going to be a really heavy old story, like your SP hates you and is never going to choose you, and you're completely delusional and deranged that you would be, affirming that they love you. I get that that might feel like a bigger piece of resistance, but again, all resistance is just old focused energy. All you need to do when it comes up is fearlessly look at it like, okay, yep, I see that is here. That is an option. It is an option. yeah, maybe my SP or whatever, they're never going to choose me. I really am delusional and deranged. Okay, thank you for this piece of information. You're just kind of acknowledging it in like a totally accepting, totally non-resistant. Because remember, the goal is not to feed the resistance. You feed the resistance by resisting it. Because resistance on resistance is just giving it focus. Instead, fearlessly acknowledge it. Here it is. Okay, I accept that as whatever this option is. I accept it. But key, remember this is also key, I'm going to keep focusing on this. And you're turning away from the resistance, not in like, again, a fearful, like, no, you're just gently, okay, this is here, but this is what I'm going to keep focusing on. I'm going to keep focusing on my affirmation or my wish fulfilled. And again, I'm not resisting this. I'm not trying to fight this. I'm just not focusing on it. And I'm just going to come back to this. So here's the very fascinating thing, though, that happened in my roller coaster story. Because remember how I said that I could tell that this thing, this niggling intuition, I could tell that it was a true intuitive hit in that moment and not just like a resistant BS story. So here's the fascinating thing that happened. As I got up to the front of the line, the part where there's a cast member and they ask you how many are in your party. This is how they load you onto, the train cars. And ahead of me, there was a group of 3 girls. And as I was behind them the whole time in the line, the logical part of me just sort of thought, well, I'll probably get kind of like paired on to those 3 girls because I am, a single, and they load the train. It's like 2, 2, 2. It's like 2 in each row. And so they'll tend to, take a single person and they kind of add them in to a group of 3. But remember, when you are a master manifester, things that seem logical don't always happen, because remember, you're manifesting your reality. So just because it might have seemed logical that I would have been grouped with them, this is the crazy thing that happened. So they're ahead of me. They tell the cast member, okay, we're a group of 3. She does send them to the front of the train. They go up to the front of the train to load at the front. I'm next. She asks me how many's in my party. I just say 1. And weirdly, even though again, logically, they would just keep loading from the front. They would just add me into their group to keep it 2 and 2 and 2 in the rows. She weirdly told me to go back to this like weird area that I had never been put back there before, like the end of the platform. And then a different cast member is like, oh, you're just 1. You can just like come on in here. And guess where come on in here was? It was the very last row of the roller coaster. And I thought, oh my God, this is so fascinating, because it validated that 1, yes, that little intuitive niggling that I had, that was a real intuitive hit. There was a part of my true intuition that was picking up on the energy of the situation, was that I could be placed at the front with those original 3 girls that I was behind in line. But because I was just, again, not resisting my resistance, I picked up on the intuitive hit, but I was not bothered by it. I didn't feed into it. I just said, okay, cool. Thanks for presenting that to me as an intuitive option that you're picking up in the energy here in the 3D. I'm just going to keep focusing, again, in a very light, relaxed, not trying to force things, not trying to like, oh my God, I got to get the back row. It wasn't that. It was just like, I'm just going to go back to focusing on me being in the back. And then I get up to the front of the line, and the cast members, like, they don't have free will. Remember, like how we're always saying that people in your reality don't really have free will. Of course, the cast members have no idea that I've been in line, manifesting that I'm going to get the back row. But they have no free will, and that the woman probably didn't even consciously know why. She just decided, oh, this random party of 1, I'm just going to send her back there. So my intuition or resistance was right, but I didn't feed into it, and I still got my manifestation. And I was even fine. You know how like the affirmation was, I'm going to be seated in the back? Like I wasn't even necessarily like intending, oh, the very, very last row. Of course, that's awesome that I got that. That was like the best row. I just wanted to be, at the back of the train car. So when I got like the actual very last row, I was just like, oh my God, it worked. But also how fascinating that my intuition or resistance kind of was right, but it proved that it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even if you're having a real intuitive hit about an energy that is developing in the 3D, you can still say, okay, thanks for that information, intuition, not threatened by the information. I'm totally accepting and okay with it, but I'm going to keep putting my energy, because I'm the one creating energy. My energy is going to continue to stay focused over here. And guys, remember, this applies to absolutely everything. I know there's a part of your ego that could say, oh, well, that's so easy, Genevieve. That was just like a little roller coaster ride. No, as I was saying before, even though those heavier old stories, they can feel like a bigger deal, like they're harder to accept and just, gently move away from, but they're really not. Remember, resistance is just energy. It's just energy that you can just choose to engage with, choose to continue focusing on, or simply, again, just turn away from it. Things dissolve without your attention. It is what you have your attention on that creates reality. This is why your focus, your daily focus, is so important. What are you really focusing on? What are you legitimizing in your consciousness? What are you asking about, like, oh, this is a problem. I have to fix this. This is why, like I was saying in the beginning of this video, those questions of how do I release my resistance or how do I let go of my resistance? Those questions imply focus on resistance. They're feeding into resistance. They're validating. Yes, there's a problem here. There's a problem with resistance. Yes, I'm claiming this resistance. How do I let go of this thing I keep claiming? You don't have to do that. Even if the resistance feels big, that feeling of bigness is just a feeling. It's just an emotion. And that emotion can be there while you decide in a gentle, accepting way to just, okay, I'm going to turn my attention to actually I am loved. Even if you're still feeling, because maybe that resistant old story, maybe it makes you feel like you got punched in the gut. There's like so much emotional juice still attached to that old story, that old resistance. It just feels like a punch in the gut. That doesn't matter. That can be there. And I have tons of other videos about emotions and how, emotions really it doesn't matter the temperature of the emotion. It just matters what you're channeling that emotion into. So that's what I'm saying here. You can feel those really big emotions, be very accepting of them and decide, okay, I'm feeling this emotion right now. And I'm just going to gently, lovingly accept the resistant old story. Again, we're not fighting it. We're not trying to deny it. We're not trying to say, no, you're not true. Because again, even doing this, no, you're not true. I am loved. That's feeding into this. The more you fight it, the more you try to argue with it, the more you do anything engaging with this except just accepting it. Of like, okay, I see you. I accept you as an option. Cool. But I'm going to just turn over here and focus on this. That's all you have to do. So stop trying to solve your old story. Stop trying to heal your blocks. Just accept them. Like the way they actually dissolve eventually, the way resistance naturally totally goes away eventually, is when you are so accepting that it's there and not a problem. It's just sort of there. And you're just so accepting of it. You don't even need to focus on it anymore. It just naturally kind of dissolves on its own. So stop trying to solve resistance. Stop trying to be perfect in your mindset and in your emotions. Because as we go through life, as we grow as manifestors, yeah, you are going to have intuitive neglings come up that tell you, oh no, I actually think something else is happening. Or maybe it's not your intuition, like I said, and it's just resistance. But either way, even if it's an intuitive hit, as I said, it's just all intuition is showing you is that maybe there is some momentum in the 3D that you're picking up on that's leading you a certain way. But again, you don't have to buy into that momentum. You can simply be like, okay, cool. Thanks for that information that there is some momentum, maybe going in the opposite direction of my manifestation, but that's not a big deal. I kind of don't care. It's just information. I'm going to keep focusing on this being my wish fulfilled. Okay. I hope this like freed you today, that you are free from this like, oh my God, I'm too resistant to manifest. Like, we're done with that. We're done thinking that way. This is easy. You've got this. This is about your focus. So just keep practicing focus and obviously acceptance. And I will see you guys in my next video. All right, bye.